All right, so let's connect this idea of synthetic transactions to arbitrage. And that's what this last problem is about. So let's say we've got this yield curve. We have a 1-year rate, spot rate of 6%, 2-year spot rate of 7%. But we can also borrow money at a 7% effective 1-year interest rate, effective 1 year from now, and to be paid back 2 years from now. In other words, there's a forward rate, a 1-year forward rate, 1 year available 1 year from today at 7%, which we know, if you look at that yield curve, is not going to be the implied forward rate. So what we're going to do is construct a transaction involving no net cash flows at time 0 or 1, guaranteeing us a certain profit at time 2 without risk. This is arbitrage. So we have to do some synthetic transactions here. So first, let's just calculate what the 1-year forward rate is. It's 8%, right? So the available forward rate doesn't match the implied forward rate. In particular, the available forward rate is 7%. The implied forward rate is 8%. So that means we want to borrow at the lower rate, invest at the higher rate. That's how we buy low, sell high, right? So we borrow at 7% and invest at 8%. Well, how is that going to work? What we want to do is invest at time 1 to take advantage of that 8% and get paid at time 2. That's a forward investment, like the transaction in the last example. So we're going to accomplish that if we redeem a bond at the end of year 1 and have a bond we purchase at the end of year 2 get redeemed. In other words, we want to sell a 1-year zero coupon bond and then buy the 2-year zero coupon bond. Let's look at this a little closer. So we want, and the whole idea is we borrow at this forward rate of the actual forward rate of 7% in order to redeem that first bond. And then, and that's equivalent to investing at the forward rate of 8%. So let's look closer. At time 0, we sell a 1-year zero coupon bond at 6%, some face amount, and we use the proceeds to buy a 2-year zero coupon bond at 7%. So what have we done? We've sold and bought. And by doing so, that means we owe money at the end of year 1 and we receive money at the end of year 2. And because the proceeds that you got from selling match what we paid for in our purchase, there's no net cash flows in time 0. Now with this transaction, we are effectively investing at 8%. However, that means we need to have whatever it is we need to redeem the 1-year bond we sold at the end of time 1. And this is where we take advantage of the incorrectly priced forward rate of 7%. At the end of year 1, we borrow enough to pay off those proceeds, enough to redeem that bond at 7%. And then we pay off what we borrowed when we get repaid from the 2-year coupon bond we purchased at 8%, and we will certainly have some over. Right? In other words, let's say that we've mimicked investing 100 at time 1 and getting back 108 at time 2. We only owe 107 at time 2 because we borrowed at 7%. You see how that works? We synthesize the forward investment using the implied rates so that we got the 8% return, but we borrowed to get the funds to perform the synthetic investment at the lower rate. So what do you think about this? Let's think about this from our ethical perspective. We're taking advantage of an arbitrage opportunity. Are there ethical arguments before or against? And we can think about all of our ethical reasoning skills. We can think about our stakeholder analysis. But let's just think about the arguments for and against. So the argument against is we don't like people getting something for nothing. There's no risk here. You've done nothing but take advantage of an opportunity, so it feels kind of like something for nothing. The argument for it is by doing so, what market participants are doing is they're driving rates to the correct equilibrium values and the correct market. And by doing so, they correct the market error. So in this particular example we just saw, there'd be a bunch of people rushing to do this transaction. And as a result, that 7% rate in the market would go up because of supply and demand, and it would reach its correction of 8%. So there is an economic function for arbitrage. So that's the argument for and against. In the final video, I'm going to give you just a quick overview of my thoughts about the Chapter 9 case study.